Hello and welcome to the first ever edition of TopDogz TV's Short Sport Shorts. Today we start with a new series on former Liverpool managers, beginning way back in 1892 when the club was formed. The club started with something that wouldn't be seen again for over 100 years, joint managers. William Edward Barclay and John McKenna, who remained in charge up until 1896, were in reality more of a director of football head coach partnership than what we think of as joint managers nowadays. Barclay was the one who held the director of football type position in his role as secretary manager, as it was termed. He also held the unique distinction of being Everton's first manager. When a rental dispute with Anfield landlord John Holden saw Everton move across Stanley Park to set up home in the newly built purpose-built stadium, Goodison Park, Barclay elected to stay behind and help John Holden set up a new club. It was he that came up with the idea to call the new club Liverpool FC. When John Holden presented the board with £500 to spend on new players, Barclay went off on a number of scouting trips to Scotland to try and find new players. McKenna was known by the nickname Honest John. He was considered the coach manager. Honest John was an Irishman who had arrived in Liverpool with nothing. He became a successful businessman and a professional rugby player. John Holden invited McKenna to Anfield to watch Everton play. He fell in love with association football and was regularly in the stands to watch Everton play at Anfield. When Everton left the stadium, he joined the board of Liverpool FC. He took on the job of rebuilding a team that had just 3 players left from the Everton era: Andrew Hanna, Pat Gordon and Duncan McLean. Using his connections, he went off up to Glasgow to recruit players from the Scottish amateur leagues. Due to this, he built a team with no English players in it at all. In fact, his team was often known as the Team of Max due to the number of players who had a surname beginning with Muck. Despite Liverpool's future association with red, they initially played in blue and white stripes. Barclay and McKenna's first game in charge was an Anfield friendly against Rotherham, which they won 7-1. Unfortunately for Liverpool, an administrative error saw them fail to get election to the Football League. Some sources blame Barclay for the error, as the club failed to make itself available for the election to the second division in the event of failure to be elected to the first. The failure to achieve election to the Football League left Liverpool playing in the Lancashire League for their first ever season. They romped through the league with 17 wins out of 22, many of them by 5 or more goals. Despite this, directors were uneasy at the style of play McKenna chose, especially his use of attacking fullbacks. Despite the directors' unease, Liverpool went on to lift the Liverpool Senior Cup against a strong Everton side to add to the Lancashire League in their first season. McKenna, without informing anyone else at the club, reapplied for election to the Football League at the end of the season. His written applications cited Liverpool's talented squad, financial security, excellent transport links and massive potential. It was enough to win the club election to the second division of the old Football League. This despite competition from other clubs who were bigger at the time than Liverpool FC were. The 1893-94 season saw Liverpool start off in the same vein as they'd finished the previous season, winning 2-0 away at Middlesbrough-Inopolis. LFC found the second division no more difficult than the Lancashire League. They won 22 of 28 matches that season, scoring 77 goals, conceding just 18, and set themselves up with a playoff test match against Newton Heath, who later became known as Manchester United. Liverpool beat Newton Heath to take their place in the first division of the Football League. Just 3 years after their creation, they would be playing in the top flight of the English Football League. The first division was a step too far for Liverpool FC though, and they struggled badly, ending the season with relegation. To make things worse for Liverpool, the first ever Merseyside League derby saw Everton run out easy winners in front of 44,000 spectators. The McKenna and Barclay era was now over, as McKenna stepped up to take a place on the board and recruited his successor in a major coup for the club, the most successful English manager of the time, Tom Watson. Honest John went on to have 2 spells as Liverpool chairman and became president of the Football League from 1910 until 1935. After his death in 1936, the Football League presented Liverpool with a memorial plaque to McKenna. That plaque is still proudly displayed in the Anfield foyer. So there we have it, attacking fullbacks, director of football, administrative errors, and a team full of foreigners. It's almost like modern football started back in 1892. Next time I will be talking about Liverpool's first period of success under Tom Watson. That's all from this week's episodes of TopDogz TV's Short Sport Shorts.